Hi there, guys. So I just wanted to pick up on a segment from Iain Dale's show on LBC, which must have aired over the last few days. So following this call into his show, in which Iain cut off a woman who was complaining about Afghan nationals arriving into the UK, he's taken a load of flack, sort of nominally from his own side, and by that I mean people on the right wing of politics. So let's have a look at the video and then I'll get into it afterwards.
These people come here, they don't turn into Englishmen, they bring their Afghan ways with them, and we're supposed to like it, and we don't. And what did our politicians do about that? Nothing. Tell us to suck it up, which is what we've got.
And when you say Afghans bring their ways with them and we don't want them, what do you mean by that?
No, we don't. Pardon?
What do you mean by that?
What I mean is that we don't want to live like they do.
Well,
Why should we?
How do you think they live? How do you know how they live?
Well, I've seen enough, haven't I? It's all on the television. Women subjected to imprisonment virtually, girls.
That's why they're coming here, to get away from that.
Well, why don't they sort their own country out?
Because
why do they
the
want us
Taliban
to
are in
help them and then
charge.
turn on us?
Because the Taliban are in charge, that's why. Because the Taliban are in charge.
Well, then they'll have to do something about it. If we had rotten governments here, which we have had from time to time, we have a democratic vote on it. If they don't, you can't force these people to do what they don't want to do, and it's nothing to do with that.
You're talking as if these people are coming over here and they're part of the Taliban themselves. The whole point of them coming here is that they were helping us fight against the Taliban.
All right, so that in future generations, our grandchildren and great-grandchildren are going to be a minority in their own country because your generation wants to flood the country with people that are totally unassimilable to our way of life.
You're a complete dinosaur, I'm afraid. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting to say, oh, well, these people bring their ways here, and yet you can't actually articulate what they are. I don't want to hear any more of it, Liz. Thank you very much.
So you have to remember, Iain Dale is firmly on the right in this country. Now, in 2019, he was Boris Johnson's hype man in the Tory leadership election campaign, and he would bring him out before speeches, hype him up, get the crowd all whipped up into a frenzy. I hate him and everything he stands for, frankly. But I just wanted to pick up on what happens to people when they outlive their usefulness to the right, and what that can tell us about the direction of travel for politics in this country. So I recently did a video in which I explained how Britain's strictest head teacher, Birbalsingh, was shocked at the racist abuse that children in her school got after she posted a picture of them online. And in that video, I talked about how the right has also eaten people like David Cameron, Rishi Sunak and Theresa May, who were probably only cosplaying as racists to get a few votes. But in this instance, I actually have some sympathy with Iain Dale. I can't believe I've said that, to be honest. In the clip, he's talking to a woman who's probably spent her entire life being radicalised. So initially it probably would have been via the Daily Mail or the Daily Express. And then latterly it's probably GB News and possibly Twitter or maybe the Facebook comments if she's online. It's not my intention in this video to dunk on an ordinary member of the public who's just going about their daily life and, who may have worries about immigration, for example. But she's called into a national radio station and she's just talking total rubbish. Most of what she said there is just half-baked ideas and conspiracies. So that then takes me to my wider point. In trying to present some facts and balance into the discussion, Dale there has committed a cardinal sin for the right. And that is that you have to be all in now. There are no half measures allowed. Unless you go fully sort of great replacement theory, we need to get all the asylum seekers out, we need to sink the boats in the channel, then you're not seen as having legitimacy anymore. And they'll just simply move on. There is no halfway house for people like Iain Dale anymore. And I mentioned Cameron, Sunak and Birbalsingh earlier. We've even had Trump getting fire this past week about the Epstein files. So nobody is immune from this. The simple fact is, once you've outlived your usefulness, they just move on and they move ever rightward. So as I see it, in terms of the wider politics of it all, this could go then one of two ways. So either that rightward journey will continue and eventually it will just sort of burn itself out because it will lose popular consent. A 20 to 30% share of the vote for reform isn't actually that popular, by the way, anyway. But that is ex-Tories and some of the more moderate reform voters will be put off by the sort of hatred and overt racism that we see. And then what will happen is that things will all splinter off and it will turn into what UKIP became after Farage left, essentially becoming a sort of more political version of the BNP. Or we might move into a situation where there'll be further splits on the right as reform tacks towards the centre, trying to replace the Tories, and then the hardcore right leave and start their own movements. So we've already seen some of that play out with Rupert Lowe's new political party or brand, and then Ben Habib's new party, Advance. And as we can see from the reaction to Dale here, particularly online, on Twitter, we can be absolutely sure that the hatred and racism is not going anywhere. It's just that what might happen is that it might become too fragmented and disorganised to achieve anything tangible across the UK. And really, our only hope is that that's the case, which is frankly an absolutely dismal state of affairs. So yeah, thanks a lot, guys. I'll see you next time.